Hi, and welcome to Speak Clearly Lab, where we practice clear English for real-life moments that matter. Imagine that you are sitting in a workplace meeting. Your manager asks you a question. You understand every word. You know that you have something useful to say. But suddenly, your mind goes completely blank. You hold your pen, everyone waits, and the only words that come out are, I, us. Has this ever happened to you? If it has, you are definitely not alone. And today, we are going to fix it. By the end of this lesson, you will know how to handle that moment calmly. First, you will learn how to buy time naturally, without filling every pause with or Next, you will learn a simple way to organize your answer. And finally, you will practice giving a clear response with confidence. This is not only a list of useful phrases. You are going to learn a complete speaking system that you can use at work, in job interviews, in speaking tests, and in everyday conversations. Before we learn the system, let us understand why your mind freezes in the first place. Freezing does not necessarily mean that your English is poor. Very often, your brain is simply trying to do too many things at the same time. First, you hear the question in English. Then, you translate it into your first language. Next, you plan the answer. After that, you translate your answer back into English. And while all of this is happening, you are also checking your grammar, searching for vocabulary, and worrying about your pronunciation. Hear English. Translate. Plan the answer. Translate again. Check the grammar. That is a lot of mental work for one short response. You may also be trying to prepare the entire answer before you begin speaking. You want your first sentence to be perfect, so you keep waiting. But the longer you wait, the more pressure you feel. The real problem is often not a lack of English knowledge. It is processing overload. So instead of forcing your brain to create a perfect answer immediately, we are going to make the process smaller and easier. Here is the first important change in mindset. Pausing is normal. Confident speakers pause too. They think, choose their words, and sometimes change the direction of a sentence. The problem is not the pause itself. The problem is when the pause turns into panic. Compare these two responses. That sounds nervous because the speaker has not shown where the answer is going. Now compare it with this. That's a good question. The second speaker still needs time to think. But the pause now sounds calm and intentional. So your goal is not to remove every pause from your English. Your goal is to manage the pause instead of fearing it. Let us see how you respond before learning the phrases. Here is a quick speaking test. I am going to ask you one question. Try to answer it out loud before the 5 seconds are over. Do not prepare a perfect answer. Just notice what happens in your mind. Here is the question. What makes a good team? You have 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How did that feel? Did you know your answer immediately? Or did you begin searching for the perfect first sentence? Keep your answer in mind. We will return to the same question near the end of the lesson and see how much easier it becomes. Let us begin with 3 natural thinking phrases. The first phrase is, that's a good question. This phrase is polite, flexible, and suitable for many different situations. You can use it in a meeting, an interview, or a speaking test. It gives you a short moment to think while showing that you understood the question. Listen again. That's a good question. The second phrase is, let me think about that for a moment. Use this when you genuinely need a little more time. It sounds honest and controlled. Listen again. Let me think about that for a moment. The third phrase is, I'd say. I'd is the shortened form of I would. This phrase helps you begin giving your opinion before you have planned every detail. For example, I'd say communication is the most important factor. Now repeat the 3 phrases after me. That's a good question. Let me think about that for a moment. I'd say, These phrases help you begin. But you should also choose the phrase that matches the situation. Natural English does not mean using the same phrase everywhere. The right phrase depends on the situation and the level of formality. In a casual conversation with a friendly coworker, you might say, "Give me a second." This sounds relaxed and informal. In a normal team discussion, you could say, "Let me think about that." This is neutral and works in many everyday situations. In a job interview or another professional setting, you could say, "That's a good question." This sounds more polished and professional. So think about 3 levels: casual, neutral. Professional, "Give me a second." Let me think about that. That's a good question. The meaning is similar, but the tone changes. Choosing the right tone helps you sound natural, rather than sounding as though you memorized one phrase and are now using it absolutely everywhere. Once you have bought some time, the next step is organizing the answer itself. These next 3 phrases help give your answer direction. The first phrase is, "The main reason is." Use this when you want to introduce your central reason clearly. For example, the main reason is that regular communication prevents mistakes. The second phrase is, "From my experience." This is especially useful in workplace conversations and interviews. It connects your answer to something you have actually seen, learned, or done. For example, "From my experience, regular updates help a team work more efficiently." The third phrase is, "The first thing that comes to mind is." Use this when the question is unexpected and you want to introduce your first idea naturally. For example, "The first thing that comes to mind is improving communication between the 2 teams." Listen to the 3 phrases again. The main reason is, "From my experience." The first thing that comes to mind is. Notice that these phrases are not simply fillers. They show the listener how your answer is organized. But sometimes, before answering, you need to make sure that you understood the question correctly. Clarifying is a communication skill. It is not a sign that your English is weak. If the question is unclear, you can say, "Let me make sure I understand." This shows that you are listening carefully. You can then check a specific detail. For example, are you asking about the short-term solution? That is much better than guessing what the other person means and giving an answer to the wrong question. There is also another useful phrase, "Let me rephrase that." Use this when you have already started speaking, but you want to express your own idea more clearly. For example, "The project is not going well, let me rephrase that." The project is progressing, but we need more time for the final review. So remember the difference. "Let me make sure I understand" clarifies the other person's question. "Are you asking about" checks a specific meaning. "Let me rephrase that" repairs your own wording. Answering the right question is more important than answering the fastest. Now we can combine everything into one simple formula. Here is the easy answer formula. Step 1, buy time. Step 2, give one main point. Step 3, add one reason or one example. That is all you need for a clear basic answer. Let us use the question from our speaking test. What makes a good team? Step 1, buy time. That's a good question. Step 2, give one main point. I'd say communication is the key. Step 3, add a reason. Because it prevents misunderstandings. Now listen to the complete answer. That's a good question. I'd say communication is the key because it prevents misunderstandings. The structure is simple. Thinking phrase. Main point, reason. You do not need to think of 5 ideas. You do not need to prepare a long speech. And you do not need to build the entire answer before you open your mouth. You only need to know what comes next. Let us break the answer into even smaller parts. Look at this answer as 3 separate building blocks. The first section is, that's a good question. Its job is to buy time. You can begin with this sentence, even if you have not planned the rest of the answer yet. The second section is, I'd say clear communication makes a good team. This is the main point. It tells the listener exactly what you believe. The third section is, the main reason is that people solve problems faster when expectations are clear. This is the supporting reason. Now listen to the full answer. That's a good question. I'd say clear communication makes a good team. The main reason is that people solve problems faster when expectations are clear. Do not plan the whole answer before you speak. Begin with the first small part. Then add the next one. Clear speaking is often easier when you build the answer one piece at a time. However, these thinking phrases can still become unhelpful if you use them in the wrong way. Here are 3 common mistakes to avoid. Mistake number 1, making the thinking phrase too long. For example, well, that's actually a very interesting and really good question. By the time you finish that sentence, you may sound even less certain. Keep it simple. That's a good question. Mistake number 2, repeating the filler. For example, I'd say, I would probably say. At that point, I'd say has become another version of Use the phrase once and move directly to your main point. I'd say communication is the key. Mistake number 3, using a thinking phrase but never giving an idea. That's a good question, and then nothing. The thinking phrase gives you a bridge into the answer. It is not the answer itself. After the phrase, give one clear point. You do not need a brilliant point. You need a clear one. Now let us apply the system to a real workplace situation. End the wrong way. Imagine that Meyer is sitting in a meeting with her manager, Daniel. Daniel asks, "Can you give us an update on the project?" Maya knows what has happened. She has the information in front of her. But she tries to organize everything at once. So her answer sounds like this. We're still working on it. The answer is not necessarily wrong. But it creates uncertainty. Daniel still does not know the overall status, what has been completed, or what will happen next. Maya needs a clearer structure. Let us try the same situation again. This time, Maya uses 3 simple steps. By time. Give the current status. Explain the next step. Daniel asks, "Can you give us an update on the project?" Meyer answers, "Sure. I'd say the project is progressing well. We've completed the first phase, and we're now working on the final review." Now the answer is easy to follow. I'd say helps her begin. The project is progressing well, gives the overall status. We've completed the first phase, explains the progress. And we're now working on the final review, gives the next step. The English is not complicated. The difference comes from the structure. Now, let us use the same principle in a job interview. Here is a common interview question: why should we hire you? Many people freeze because they feel that they must explain every strength they have. Instead, focus on 3 things. 1 strength, 1 piece of evidence, and a connection to the job. You could begin like this: that's a good question. From my experience, I stay calm and communicate clearly under pressure. That gives 1 clear strength. Then add evidence. In my previous work, I often had to explain important information quickly and accurately. Now the interviewer has more than a list of positive words. They have a specific quality supported by real experience. To connect it to the role, you could finish with, "I believe that experience would help me communicate effectively with both clients and team members in this position." You do not need to describe your entire career. Choose 1 relevant strength, prove it, and connect it to the job. This same idea also works in IELTS and CELPIP speaking tasks. In a speaking test, many candidates try to think of too many ideas. That usually makes the answer slower and less organized. Imagine the question is, do you think working from home is better than working in an office? You do not need 10 different arguments. Choose one position, one reason, and one example. Your position could be, I'd say working from home is better for some people. Your reason could be, it saves commuting time. And your example could be, employees can use that extra time for their families, personal responsibilities, or rest. Now combine the three parts. I'd say working from home is better for some people because it saves commuting time. For example, employees can use that extra time for their families or for rest. One position. One reason. One example. A focused answer is usually clearer than a long list of disconnected ideas. And in some real-life situations, accuracy matters even more than fluency. Consider a medical conversation. A healthcare professional asks, has the pain changed since yesterday? This question could refer to several things. Has the location changed? Has the intensity changed? Or has the type of pain changed? If Meyer is not sure, she should not guess. She can say, let me make sure I understand. Do you mean the location or the intensity? That short clarification helps both people communicate more accurately. In important situations, asking one clear follow-up question is much safer than answering quickly with the wrong information. Remember, accuracy is more important than speed. Clarifying a question does not make you sound less fluent. It shows that you are listening carefully and taking the conversation seriously. You have now seen how the system works at work, in interviews, in speaking tests, and in an important medical conversation. It is time for you to practice. Now it is your turn. For each question, use the same three-part structure. Begin with a thinking phrase. Give one main point. Then add one reason or one example. You will have 10 seconds for each question. You do not need a long answer. 2 or 3 clear sentences are enough. Question 1, tell me about yourself. Your 10 seconds begin now. Question 2, what is one challenge you have faced at work? Your 10 seconds begin now. Question 3, why do you want this job? Your 10 seconds begin now. Question 4, what makes a good team? Your 10 seconds begin now. And question 5, what should the company improve? Your 10 seconds begin now. If your answers were not perfect, that is completely fine. The goal is to practice starting clearly and organizing your ideas under time pressure. Next, let us practice the rhythm of the most useful phrases. Now we will do a short shadowing practice. First listen. Then repeat. Finally, say the phrase with me and copy the rhythm. Phrase 1, that's a good question. Now repeat. That's a good question. Now say it with me. That's a good question. Phrase 2, let me think about that for a moment. Now repeat. Let me think about that for a moment. Now say it with me. Let me think about that for a moment. Phrase 3, from my experience, now repeat. From my experience, now say it with me. From my experience, phrase 4, the main reason is, now repeat. The main reason is, now say it with me. The main reason is, phrase 5, the first thing that comes to mind is, now repeat. The first thing that comes to mind is, now say it with me. The first thing that comes to mind is, try not to stress every word equally. Focus on the important words, good question, think, experience, main reason, first thing. The more often you practice these phrases, the less effort you will need to begin an answer. Now let us return to the question from the beginning. At the beginning of the lesson, I asked you, what makes a good team? Your first answer may have sounded like this. I think, now try again. Use a thinking phrase. Give one main point. Then add one reason. Here is the question one more time. What makes a good team? Pause the video and answer out loud now. Here is one possible answer. That's a good question. I'd say clear communication makes a good team because it prevents misunderstandings. Compare that with the first attempt. The second answer is not much longer. It is simply easier to follow. You did not need more complicated vocabulary. You needed a clear path into the answer. That is the progress we wanted. Let us review the complete system. First, use a thinking phrase. You could say, "That's a good question." Or, "Let me think about that for a moment." Second, give one main point. Tell the listener what you actually think. Third, add one reason or one example. That is the full process. Pause, organize, answer. You do not need perfect English before you begin speaking. You need a simple structure that helps your brain know what to do next. With practice, these steps will begin to feel automatic. Before you go, tell me in the comments, which phrase will you use first? Write the phrase and create one short example sentence with it. If this lesson helped you, subscribe to Speak Clearly Lab for more practical English lessons for real-life communication. You can also download the free workbooks from the links in the description. For more English tips and updates, follow Speak Clearly Lab on Instagram and TikTok. And you can visit my Etsy store, Craft Gift Lab CA, for more printable learning resources. Thank you for practicing with me today. Remember, you do not have to speak perfectly. You just need to speak clearly when it matters.